I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all participants to ELT webinar on how to handle research student life effectively. My name is Charoenroop, or you can call me Tak for short. It's my delight to be an MC for this afternoon session. Okay, it's noted that our webinar will commence at 1 p.m. sharp. Here's are the consequence activity. At 1, a welcome speech by the Ph.D. program chair and introduction of a special lecturer, and then begin the lecture session. In 2:30 to 2:45, it's time for refreshment. We will have a 15 minutes break. The lecture session then continue from 2:45 to 3:50. And at 4 p.m., it's time for the Q&A session and closing remark by the program chair. Okay, I think it's time. May I have the honor of inviting Associate Professor Dr. Akharapol Neurmaihom, the PhD Program Chair of ELT, to deliver the webinar's opening remarks. Please welcome.
Now, you already invited me to deliver an opening speech. Oh, thank you, Miss MC Ajantak Tatiya. All right, and now I'm driving, heading to Khon Kaen province from Lao province. My son, as I told you this morning, got infected COVID-19, and now he was admitted at his hostel, international hostel at Khon Kaen University. So I'm heading to visit my son. And I just sent a message to my PhD student that even if I'm driving to Khon Kaen, but please allow me to deliver a thankful speech to our guest speaker today, because it is not easy for us to have Assistant Professor Dr. Pattrawut with us. Not easy. He's a very busy man. Very young, very smart, and also busy. So we are very lucky to have him with us today online, and I highly hope to have him with us in person at our Buriram Rajabhat University campus very soon. But it will be informed in advance, at least maybe 1 or 2 months, all right, to clarify his schedules, his busy schedules. And the topic will be the topic that is delivered by our invited speaker today is very, very interesting, and of course very useful for all of you who are not just only studying but also working at the same time. And some of you not only studying, working, but taking care of your kids, taking care of your husband, your wife, and your parents. So I think not easy to effectively manage our time while studying at the same time. So today we are very lucky to have young professor who are coming to share with us how to manage our time effectively while working and studying at the same time. All right. And today we are not just only have a PhD student from batch 1 and batch 2. We also have our academic partners from other institutes as well. You are cordially welcome to attend this. All right, so I think now it's good time for us to have a keynote speaker with us. So thank you once again, my students and my academic partner from different institutes. And at this auspicious moment, I would like to invite all of you, please join me in giving a big round of applause to our invited speaker, Assistant Professor Dr. Pattrawut Charoenroop from NIDA. Thank you so much. And let me declare this webinar officially open. Thank you.
So thank you very much for a very warm welcoming speech. I was very delighted to be part of this, very interesting project. And I'm very delighted to, share my experience. As Ajahn Ek said that, we host this online, but I hope in the future we could meet in person, right? I could visit you in Buriram, right? Rajabhat University, and we can share some experiences, and I'm very delighted to do that. And thank you very much, Ajan Ek, for having me in this program. When I think about this, like when I was,
Ajahn Pattrawut, can I interrupt for a while now? Miss
yeah, sure,
MC,
please.
I think she's going to say something like an introduction to
Okay,
the
sure,
audience,
please, go ahead.
who is our visiting professor today. All right, and
Yeah.
please excuse me for not attending the sessions from the beginning until the end, because I'm still driving at the same time, and I asked my staff to record this webinar if we are allowed to do so. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Yeah.
And I hope your son is getting better.
Thank you.
I hope your son is getting better.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I just know it this morning as well. My twin brother got COVID this morning as well. I was so excited.
Yeah, still be at the list now about COVID-19 infection. All right, Ajahn Tak, are you ready to introduce to us our event speaker today? Yes, go ahead, please. Ajahn Tak, would you like to introduce our speakers to the audience?
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for a warm welcome and meaningful speech. Okay, before we start the session, maybe have a group photo first.
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Very important section. Yeah, group photo. Yeah, good.
Okay, everyone, are you ready? 1, 2, smile. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you so much, Ka. Okay, to kick off this program, let me introduce our special lecturer. Assistant Professor Dr. Pattrawut is a lecturer at the Graduate School of Language and Communication, National Institute of Development Administration, or NIDA. He received his Ph.D. in English as an international language from Chulalongkorn University, Fulbright visiting scholar in pragmatics from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, Master of Art in TESOL from University of New South Wales, Graduate Diploma in Applied Linguistics Merit Award from Australian National University, and Bachelor Degree of Arts in from. His research interests include intercultural pragmatics, cross-cultural communication, and teaching English as a global language. Okay, with that, I ask your full attention to Assistant Professor Dr. Pattrawut, and please help me in welcoming him to a presentation. Please welcome, Ka.
Okay, so thank you very much. As I earlier mentioned, I was very delighted to be here, and this is our first time that I see all of you, even like Ajahn Ek. I haven't met him in person. I think because he attended the TEL seminar a few weeks ago, and then I delivered the same topic. Apart from effectively, my presentation was about how to handle student life. I mean, the work-life balance. But that time was I gave the same talk at TEL, and then a lot of people, including Ajahn Ek, was there. And then he said that, why don't you come here and then make it the same presentation? And I think today we have more time because during the time that I was invited to give the talk at TEL, I had only an hour, a little bit less than an hour. So today I'd like to expand it. And then I like to share, okay, with all of you. I know we have two Ajahn, right? Ajahn Ek and Ajahn Tattiya. And then any other professor from Buriram University?
Pirapap, Ajahn Pirapap.
Ajahn Tirapap, ใช่ไหมครับ
คำพีรภาพ
Pampirapap.
Ajahn Tattiya, she is my PhD student. Also, she working at Buriram Rajabhat University. She is my colleague as well, and my student at the same time.
So you have two roles. Yeah, you have two roles. And then apart from that, most of you are PhD students, like PhD candidates, right? So today when I look at the topic, I thought to myself, where should I begin? It's quite difficult because this one, I'm not going to put it as, very academic. This morning you had heard, something very academic from Professor Willie, right? He talked about how to make your publication, how to attend a conference. So that was very academic. So this afternoon, I would like to make it like a more playful tone. I would like it to make it to be more relaxing. Okay, so this part I'd like to share, and at the same time, I'd like to hear from all of you, especially the students. I would like to hear your opinions on, certain topics, and then we discuss. So the role today, my role today is not lecturer, it's not professor, but my role is maybe like the one who graduated from a PhD in Thailand. So we know the context. And by the time that I graduated, or during the time I was doing my doctoral study, I was also a flight attendant at Thai Airways. And you could imagine that the time schedule was very busy, right? I had to fly, to different countries, up to like 10 countries within 1 month. And then I had to get back and focus on my study. So if you have any questions during the way that I'm making my presentation, you can interrupt me anytime, okay, anytime. So all questions are welcome, okay, all questions are welcome. And that is my role today, like sharing, okay, sharing, not lecturing, okay, sharing, okay, just relaxing, make, the atmosphere to be, a little bit intimidating, because I think I wouldn't like to make it very formal, because if it's too formal, then we might not learn something from one another. And I really expect you to learn something from me. And at the same time, I would like to learn something from you too. So we are sharing, okay? We are sharing. Okay, so first of all, that's all about me. When I was contacted at the very beginning, I asked Ajahn A what kind of topic that you would like me to deliver. And he said that, why don't you deliver the same message, but you can extend it, longer. So he said that what I did before was how to handle research student life. So he said that how to handle research student life effectively, right? Effectively. So when I received this topic, both from Ajahn Ek and also from TELS, the committee, I was thinking, where should I begin? Where should I begin? Because this topic was, in fact, it's not academic at all, right? It's a little bit, very personal, interpersonal, right? So I think I'd like to begin with this. I found a quote, accidentally, and then I really like this quote. It is said that by Christopher Rice. He said that every day is a bank account and time is our currency. No one is rich, no one is poor. We have got 24 hours each. So basically speaking, no matter what occupation you are doing, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, right? You are poor, rich, you have like higher education, low education, you're working, unemployed between the jobs. We all have 24 hours, right? We all have 24 hours. Well, it comes to my first question that I would like to know from all of you. So can you tell me briefly, how do you spend your 24 hours? How do you spend your 24 hours? Think about it. I will walk you through, how to spend your hours more effectively. And we think about how we could and we should spend our 24 hours. So can you tell me briefly, how do you spend your 24 hours?
Who want to share your idea?
No worry, everybody will get a chance to talk today, because I'd like to hear from all of you. Okay, I make it a little bit simpler. Okay, when we have like 24 hours, we need to divide the proportion of time, right? The proportion of time. Can you tell me the biggest or the largest portion of your time within 24 hours? Do you spend that portion with what kind of activity? What do you do in that biggest portion?
Yes. Hello.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Professor. So let me introduce myself. I am from
Yes.
first batch in ELT program. Now let me share how can I handle my biggest parts of my portion and 24 hours. For me, you know, I'm from Myanmar. Currently, we are facing a difficult situation. So I need to handle a lot because to solve my feelings and to solve my emotion, to control my emotion and to develop my professional development like that. So when I see the topic, I'm very interested because I want to know how to handle as a research student. For me, as soon as I get up, I use the 20 rule. You know, it's a very famous I found in Google. One of the famous philosophy scholar. He said this rule 20 20 20. It's me. For example, I get up at 5 o'clock. And then I use this room. The first 20 minutes for meditation, and the second 20 minutes for exercise, and the third 20 minutes for setting my daily plan. Like this, I begin my day to handle to make a progress, and then other person I'm not in subject, so I got a lot of free time. So I normally use most of my free time for my study. For example, study in research and professional development and foreign languages. Because when I was a university student, I'm interested in learning foreign languages. And then currently I have learned 3 languages and now one more language, Thai language. But I'm now learning basic. Then because in this way, I handle to solve my emotion and to control my mind by learning new things. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, wow, wonderful, wonderful. So I think the plans that you take from, you know, someone very famous like 20 20 20 formula. So I think this one is very good to begin your day, right? To begin your day. So if you would like, if you hear I mean, if you heard from her, you can, you know, imitate, you know, the way that you begin your day. Because if you begin your day, you know, systematically, I believe that the rest of the day will be very systematic if you begin like that every day. So the concept of consistent, I will tell you why being consistent is very important for PhD students' life, right? Because without consistency, you will face a lot of problems. You will face a lot of problems. And I will tell you what kind of problems we are facing if we do not be consistent. So I like the idea. I haven't tried it myself, like 20 and 20 and 20. So you have 3 portions, right? Equally divided. The first one is for meditation. And I came across, you know, a lot of experiences. A lot of people usually told me, why don't you get up early in the morning and you start your day doing the meditation? Can you tell me who did the meditation in the past, every day or on a daily basis? None of us, including me. So try the meditation, because the meditation, you can do it your own pace at your most convenient time. It could be early in the morning, right after you open your eyes, or before you go to bed. So the meditation is good because it's like for you to be concentrate, for you to be more focused, right? To be more focused. So I think meditation is good. You should spend some time doing some meditation, right? Meditation. And the second portion, exercise, which is good, right? Which is good. Tell me how many days a week you go for exercise. You can go running 3 days, good, 3 days. Well, you can tell whether people go, you know, exercising by their energy, right? They will have energy, their face will look bright, you know, they have like energy to do something. They can read, they can stand, they can walk, they can, very smart, right? Because exercising will help you. Because don't forget, when you study, you immerse yourself in something very academic. So the brain is working so hard. So I just learned something from MIT. I finished a class from MIT, and they talk about cognitive load, cognitive loads. So when you do something very serious, when you encounter something very academic, your brain is working so hard. So when your brain is working so hard, what is happening? If your body, your physical strength isn't good, then it will drag the capacity of your brain. So you have to be, powerful in terms of your physical strength. So you can go exercise, jogging, you do yoga, you can go swimming, whatever that you like, but try to do it on a regular basis. I'm not encouraging you to do it every day because we're not a sport girl or sport man, right? We are just like PhD student, but don't forget to go exercising. Do some exercise, running, jogging. I remember when I was in Australia, I usually stay up very late at the lab because I study phonetics. And when I finish my work, the last bus has gone. So the only way that I had to do is to walk from the campus to my residence, to my home. So I keep walking, every day at night, walking back. And I realized that walking is so powerful. It's so powerful. It helped me to stay in good shape because even though I ate a lot at that time, but I stay in, good shape because of walking, Okay. And then the last portion, you talk about meditation, and then you talk about the second one, which is the exercising. And then the third one is planning, right? Is it planning? Planning your day, right?
Yes, daily
Good,
planning.
good. So if you plan something, think about you're traveling. If I say that, okay, tomorrow we have a trip to New York. So without planning, the trip will be ruined. The trip will not be, a great trip. It cannot be a great trip without a plan. So you have to plan yourself each day. So what is the plan you would like to do? What is the plan that you would like to accomplish? So in my diary, tell me if any one of you keep writing the diary. Do you write a diary? No? Okay, you did, good. Okay, try to write a diary. So the diary is not like recording of your daily routine. You don't have to say, I woke up at 5 o'clock, I did what. No, but you set a goal for each day. I have kept doing this since I was like high school students, and I keep doing that up until present. Why? Because I can check by the end of the day, by the end of the week, by the end of the month, by the end of the year. What could I achieve? So you can set up a goal, not far-reaching one, right? A more closer to you. For instance, today I would like to read an article, half of the article, and today I would like to discuss. You try to set a goal, like small one, and then you try to achieve it every day, every day, every day. And by the end of 7 days, you are going to finish reading 7 articles. But if you do not set up the goal and then you just let go, then by the end of the day, by the end of the week, you have nothing that you can prove that I can achieve them. So now I'd like to encourage you to set up your goal each day. What I would like to do each day that is relevant to yourself as a person and also relevant to yourself as a student. So today I would like to read one article and I would like to come up with good question. That's it. Don't try to, force yourself too much. And then by the end of the day, maybe you can do, at the beginning of the day, you might be able to list like 10 items. And by the end of the day, you might achieve only 7 of them. But it's good. Why? Because you know your limitation. If I ask you about your limitation, I'm sure that some of you may not be able to tell me about your limitation. The limitation is what? The limitation is how can I achieve the task? For instance, if I ask you to write 3,000 word essay, someone would say, wow, that's very easy. I can turn it into me by tomorrow. because that was so easy. I can do it right now. However, someone would say that, wow, this one is very demanding. I need at least 2 weeks. You know, you yourself should know your capacity, your limitation the best, because I, as a professor, as a lecturer, I'm not going to know your situation and your scenario. Then if you know yourself, you can adjust your timetable and your schedule. And then you should know more apart from limitation. You know, you are working well under what condition? Under what condition? If you are relaxing, someone would work so well because there is no pressure. But the other person might say, no, Ajahn, I have to be pressured. I have to work under pressure, then I can work well. If I talk to myself, I think about myself. I remember when I was a flight attendant, I think that I work well because I like working under pressure. And then I turn pressure to be the deadline. And I need to meet the deadline. For instance, I know that I'm flying to London and the flight time to London is 11 hours. So I could not do anything with that 11 hour. I'm wasting my time because I need to work, right? But once we arrive at the hotel, I schedule myself. I plan that I need to sleep. I cannot, spend time on television, on cell phone. I cannot waste the time because I know that that would be the only time that I can work on my project. So what I did is I immediately, get myself ready and then go to bed and then sleep. I usually slept for 4 or 5 hours. And then once I wake up, I rush out to have, lunch, breakfast, whatever, dinner. And then I came back. And then I might probably have more than 10 hours at the hotel alone in a room working on the paper. So I did this every time when I was, in London, in Frankfurt, in Paris. So this is the time that you should, by yourself, tell yourself, what should I do? Because nobody else would be able to tell you. Again, nobody else would be able to tell you, you yourself. But before you can plan out what I would like to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have to know your limitation. What is your limitation? Another limitation of mine is that I'm not very diligent. I will become very lazy under, cold weather. I remember when I did my second master degree from the Australian National University, I was in Canberra. Have any one of you been in Canberra in Australia before? It was so cold. I think it's apart from Tanzania, I think it will be the coldest part of Australia in Canberra. So when we were in Thailand, we talk about winter. Our winter is not cold, right? It's not cold at all. It's still hot, right? It's still hot and humid, a little bit dry. But when I was in Canberra, it was so cold. When I was cold, I feel lazy. The only feeling that comes to my mind is eating. I would like to eat a lot and stay in bed. But I have to adjust myself. I cannot force myself to like the cold weather, right? But I know that is my limitation. So I changed it. So what I did is, in the cold day, during the cold days, what I did, I lay down, in bed, and then I read books because that is the only thing that I can do. I cannot type, I cannot write, I cannot think, but I can read. So you have to know yourself, your limitation. The point here is you have to know your limitation. When you work well, when you work best, when you work fast, when you work slowly, under what kind of condition, right? Under what kind of condition? So that is something that I would like to encourage you to look at yourself. Do not look at other people. Do not make comparison because everybody are different. Don't make comparison. Oh, my friend already finished 4 chapters. I haven't yet started. So that would be a pressure. So think about yourself. You have your own path. I remember, Chulalongkorn in my degree, in my program, they, at the very beginning, they recruited 15 people as PhD candidates. Only 10 of them graduated. 5 did not graduate. I was among the 10. I was among the 10, but I graduated the longest. I spent the longest period of time. I spent 7 years And I could tell you, proudly that those 7 years, I spent the 7 years wisely, very effectively. And I could say that if I spend less time, I wouldn't be very confident with my academic backgrounds. So the time is not the condition that you should put at first. A lot of people said that once I decided to study PhD, I would like to finish it within 4 years, 5 years. When I heard, people say that, I usually think, and maybe if I can tell them, I would say to them that go back and think again, whether you really want to study your PhD or just because you want to get doctor in front of your title. So which one you like? If you would like to immerse yourself and you get to know better, deeper, spend time. I come across a book, it says 7 years of professionality. You cannot develop your expertise if you do not spend too much time. And they say that you will gain expertise when you spend time up to 7 years. So if you would like to spend time only 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years for your PhD graduation, how can you become an expert in the field, ELT, right? ELT. And then why we need an expert in this field? Because if you look at the news, they just do the ranking, right? Thai students, Thai people, English proficiency, still very low, right? Still very low. And then people look at who? Look at, those who have backgrounds in English language teaching, all of you. So you are the hopes for everyone to make the situation in Thailand better, to improve it, right? I have a little bit background in English language teaching. I studied TESOL, but my expertise is in intercultural communication, how we communicate across culture, and that is my expertise. Somehow I could say that, increasing people, proficiency is not my direct responsibility, but it's your direct responsibility. But how can you be a person that they can rely on? How can you be that person that, a lot of people can rely? For instance, they say, oh, Professor Pattrawut, right? I'm not very sure whether I pronounce your name correctly. You are an expert. So we would like to consult you. How can we improve, students' quality of life and their English proficiency? We're not talking about the whole scale, like, the whole country. But what about in Buriram or in your neighboring country, in your hometown country, province? So can you be the one that people can rely on? If we aim to be, to help people, you need to be an expert in your field, right? You need to be an expert in your field. Then don't think about how many years I'm going to spend for my PhD, right? So do it every day as best as possible, learn as much as possible, try to do your research with your base effort, base capacity, and then it will turn out to be a lot of fun, great fun. So I could tell you, I will share a little bit of my experience later. I and my thesis advisor, Assistant Professor Dr. Jilantalasi Uthai, she graduated from Cambridge and her expertise is in pragmatics, and I learned from her. Some of you might know her. We get along very well. And then we made 6 international conferences together. We went to UCLA together. We went to India together to make the conference, the presentation of our project. We have 4 publications. So when you feel your studying is a lot of fun, you can have a lot of good publications. Not good publication in the means that you are going to get publication in a good journal article, but along the way you are learning something together with your thesis advisor. Okay, so I'd like to get back to your 24 hours. So, okay, back to 24 hours. Thank you very much. You told us about the pattern that she uses, right? 24, 20, 20, and 20. Okay, anyone else would like to share about your 24 hours or the largest proportion that you spend each day?
Maybe I'll try.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I think it's for work, because I work as a lecturer and also the director of the Language Institute for the university. So yeah, mainly the portion of the time that I spend the most is for work.
Okay, good. Thank you, Kabajan. Thank you very much. So I think we have more responsibilities. We are not only a student. When we talk about life undergraduate students, like when we study, first year undergraduates, second year, third year, and fourth year. So by that time, during that time, most of us did nothing except studying, right? But once you grow up and then you study master degree, you study PhD, especially PhD, most of you are doing another job, right? You have full-time job, and then you also study at the same time. So this, really need, time management, right? Time management, because you have more burdens, you have more responsibilities. And then, some of you may have family, right? You have to take care of your son, you have to take care of your daughters, your family, your husband, your wife. So there are a lot of responsibilities. So we have to sit down and think, how can we manage our time? How can we manage our time effectively? And that is the point, right? And that is the point. Okay, thank you very much ครับอาจารย์ปิยชาติใช่ไหมครับ Okay, and then cannot remember her, cannot see her name, but it's okay. Thank you very much for your contribution. So I'd like to take you back to the slide. Okay, so when I think about 24 hours, so I thought to myself, who should give me the base example or the base answer that I can share? Well, I went to this website, which is Quora. Have you ever heard or used it? The Quora is a platform where people post some question, and then other people will come and contribute their answer based on their personal experiences, right? The question can be very academic, very formal, until very, very less academic and less formal. And then I got to see one question that is directly related to our topic, which is, how do you spend your 24 hours? So I got this one, from Michael Atkins. He was in the past, he was a college student, and he said that he spends 24 hours doing different things, but I'm going to tell you all the details. But the reason that I selected him is because he said that because he followed this, patterns, then he became very successful. He said that his score, the academic performance, over 96.5% every semester. Okay, so we come to see how did he manage his personal life. Okay, the first thing is the 8 hours. He spent 8 hours sleeping, right? From 11 p.m. until 7 p.m. And then 2 hours commuting from, the college to back home, and from home to the college, 1 hour each. And then another 3 hours for eating, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And he said the plus watching, doing the dishes afterwards. And the point is, I'm very interested in the 8 hours for sleeping. So I'd like to ask you now, how many hours do you sleep each day? And then I'm going to tell you why is it important.
8.
Okay, good. 8 hours. Ajahn Onsiri, you say that 8 hours. Good. So every day 8 hours. 7 to 8. Good. Yes. Very good. Who else? Who slept, each day less than 8 hours or 7 hours? Okay, you sleep up to 8 hours, which is okay. Ajahn Piyachat, I think that you are raising your hand. So how many hours did you sleep at night?
Around 6 hours.
Okay, it's still good. Still good. 6, okay. Who slept less than 4 hours a night? No one, right? Okay, which is very good. So we need to sleep, and then sleep, sufficiently is very crucial. because you need to rely on the brain, right? You have to use the brain to function your research, your proposal, your study, whatever, your presentation. So you have to think, you have to think, all the time. So if you do not sleep well, I think the brain doesn't function well either, right? You have to sleep a lot. I myself, when I study, I slept at least 9 hours a day, 9 hours a night a day, because I can't work if I sleep less than 8 hours, 7 hours is the max, the minimum. So I can't. And then by the time I was a flight attendant, I do not have continuing sleeping hours. So maybe I sleep 2 hours and then I work, and then after work I come back and sleep another 2 hours. But altogether I try to put like 7, 8 or 9 as maximum, because I know myself, that is my limitation. If I do not sleep well and then I have headache, I have migraine, then the next day I could not work, I could not do anything. I could not even think about the project. How can I answer the question? How can I conduct my research? So I think, if you spend time, a lot of time sleeping, and you are ready, when you work, your work will be so good. You don't have to come back and revise it. You can finish it. And then my policy is I will work only under the condition that I'm ready. I'm not working when I'm not ready. Why? Because I have to come back and change it and revise it. And that is like, I have to do it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And why do I have to do that? I don't have too much time. So I will do my work when I am under the condition that I'm ready. For instance, like reading, I know that I have a lot of things to read, but if I feel sleepy, I will stop reading. Because if you continue reading, nothing will get into your brain. You haven't thought about it. And then you have to come back and read it again. So why don't you spend that time sleeping, eating, drinking coffee, doing some exercises, and when you feel like you are very ready, come back and do the reading. So when you are at the highest capacity, your work will be done in a very capacity, in the most capacity that you have. And then you can generate something very effective, very effective. That is like the focus on quality, quality, not quantity, right? Quality. So when I ask my students, how many hours did you spend reading something? If you say that I spent 10 hours reading, for me, I'm not surprising, because I do not know the quality of your 10 hours. If I spend only 3 hours, but I can really focus on what I read, comparing to 10 hours without a focus, that will be a total waste of time. I remember when I got Fulbright scholarship to study in the United States, I arrived very late. Because they pay, they get the scholarship and then they transfer the money to my account in September. So I travel second weeks in September, but the class already began in mid-August. A few weeks has passed. So when I arrived, my host advisor, she asked me, do you want to study, it's called like experimental pragmatics, with which group? One is undergraduate students, and then a lot of them you learn some basic concept, and another group very attentive and very creative, and top students, PhD students, only 4 of them, and then we meet only 1 hour per week. So which group you can choose, because you arrived very late and then we already started, right? We already started. I decided to join the PhD group. Why? Because I would like to know how they manage their time, right? And then only 1 hour I could imagine, right? We learn a lot. So it's like we read a lot of books, we did a lot of assignments, and then we discuss. So in 1 hour, to me, it likes we learn, the whole semester. we discuss a lot. Comparing to the time when I give lecture to one of the university long time ago, they asked me to teach 8 hours. 8 hours. Can you imagine 8 hours? So teaching, so I compare the thing that I got from, even I as a teacher teaching 8 hours, and then I as a student learning only 1 hour. So the quality is different. The quality is different. It's not about the quantity. It's not all about the quantity. So now when we talk about your work, we should have talk about quality rather than quantity. So it doesn't matter for me if you say that I spend 10 hours reading, I spend, whatever, like 10 hours writing your dissertation, but I would like to see the products and I'd like to see the product's quality. That's it. That is the proof of evidence, right? That's the proof of evidence. So get back to the sleep. Why sleep is very important? Okay, why is it very important? I have a few clips that I would like to show it to you and we can share it. This one is very short, like maybe only 3 minutes. And then once we watch this, we can discuss a little bit together. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, this one, he is a professor. He is a professor at the university and his expertise is in neurologist science. He studied about the brain, neurologist, right? Neurologist. Okay, let me share it to you. It's only 3 minutes, okay, 3 minutes. He's talking about, okay, let me share you this. Can you see this? Okay, I'm not so sure because I barely use Zoom. I don't know how should I do in order to make the sound heard. Okay, I will play it and then let me know if you do not hear the sound. Can you hear the sound? No.
No, we can't.
No.
Okay, I'll know now. What can I do? Because at NIDA, we use the Microsoft team. Okay, we know, share the sound. Good.
Benefits that sleep provide.
Can you hear it now?
That's okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
So far, we've spoken about all of the wonderful benefits that sleep provides. But how much sleep should we actually be getting? For the average adult, the current recommendation is somewhere between 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. And what we've been finding from large-scale epidemiological studies is that using that reference point of 7 to 9 hours, once you start to drop below that, your mortality risk actually starts to increase. In fact, the Center for Disease Control in the United States, or the CDC, they stipulate a minimum of 7 hours of sleep a night for the average adult. In other words, the shorter your sleep, the shorter your life. But it turns out that it's not quite a linear relationship as you would expect. It's not as though the more and more that you sleep, the lower and lower your mortality risk is. In fact, something strange happens. Once you get past 9 hours, you actually start to see a rise back up in mortality risk, which seems rather strange and peculiar. And scientists have actually put forward at least 2 different explanations. The first is that if you look at those studies, it may be that individuals are suffering from significant disease and illness. When we become infected or we have disease, typically we try to sleep longer, we stay in bed longer. So in other words, it was the unmeasured disease and sickness in those studies that was triggering a response in those individuals to try and sleep more. That's one explanation. The second possible explanation is poor sleep quality, because we know that sleep quality, independent of sleep quantity, is also associated with mortality risk. And the lower that your quality of sleep is, the higher your risk of death. People who have poor quality of sleep will typically try to sleep longer. They'll try to stay in bed longer to overcome that poor quality of sleep. It may be poor quality of sleep masquerading as long sleep that is associated with a higher risk of death, rather than the long sleep itself. But if we take a step back and think about society overall, I think modernity is constantly pushing us to perhaps work long hours and therefore neglect our sleep. But if we want to be around long enough to get the benefits and the fruits of all of that hard labor, we may want to think about starting to prioritize our sleep some more.
So the key concept that I selected this particular clip and share it to all of you is because I would like you to prioritize the sleep, right? You need to think about sleeping hours. How many hours should I sleep? And that is number one priority that PhD students should focus. I'm not talking about your publication, I'm not talking about your presentation, but it starts with something very simple: sleep. Get enough sleep. Otherwise, you will not have, enough power to fight, all the hard works, So the tip number one, get back and think about your sleeping time, sleeping hours. And then once you have, a lot of number of hours, you might say 7, 8, 9. Go back and think about the quality of your sleep, whether your sleep is, full of quality or not, and how you improved it. Okay, how you improved it. Okay, so I'd like to get back to the slide. I stick with Michael, and he said that apart from that, he already spent how many hours? 13 hours. So he had left, right? Another, how many hours left? So he has 13 hours, 11 hours left, right? 11 hours left. So what did he do? He spent 5 hours, working in classes, learning material, completing sets tasks, basically speaking from 9 to 3, right? From 9 to 3, and then 5 hours. And then right after that, he has himself a break for 1 hour, doing nothing, just like breaking the brain from working in a continuing hours, right? And then he spent another 3 hours revising what he has studied, revising, making revision, reading extra words to revise. If you do not revise what you study, what you did, you will forget. And then once you come back and continue another thing that is difficult, you will forget all the fundamental principle. And you have to reread, rewrite, and even like re-listen to it again. So they suggested to do the revision every day. And then another 2 hours for, relaxing. So if you look at Michael's, daily schedule or the routine diary, you'll be able to see that he balanced, the work-life balance, play, sleep, eat, right? He doesn't over-focus on one particular thing, right? On one particular thing. So that in this slide, I'm interested in 2 and 1 hours for, nothing, for video game, for social media. So he gave himself 3 hours. So I'd like to ask you, how many hours did you spend or do you spend using social media? How many hours recently? Can you control yourself? Control yourself means if you know that you have only 1 hour, okay, you use social media for 1 hour. By the end of that hour, you say, stop. I can no longer continue using the social media. And then I turn myself to something else. For instance, to my study. For instance, to prepare, my lecture, whatever. Can you stop it? You don't have to tell me, tell yourself. You don't have to tell me, tell yourself. Because what? Because most of the time, I have to admit, I cannot control myself. I cannot. It's very temptation, right? I thought to myself, I would spend only 1 hour. So when I look at the watch, already 3 hours on the social media. The time went by so fast, right? But you need to be resistant, right? Resistant. I have another clip, okay, another clip that I would like to show you. It's all about the use of social media, like media addiction. Okay. We keep talking about, we keep talking about the negative things, when you are addicted to the social media. But, I usually talk to my students, MA, PhD students. I say everything is like a coin, and there are two sides of the same coins. So when we talk about negative things, we could also have the positive side for using the social medias. And I like this clip, okay? This clip talk about both sides of using the social medias related your academic performance, right? Academic performance. Okay, I forgot to share this out. So can I share this out again? Okay, I did. This one is 3 minutes, okay, and 20 seconds. So I'd like to stop here, and we could see that using social media, it doesn't only have the negative consequences or doesn't produce only negative consequences, but at the same time, it can, it can give you eye-opening experience, right? You can see something new, you can see something that you haven't seen and you've never heard before. So I'd like to get back to this. Okay, so you'll be able to see that these are example, only some example of, very, very academic platforms that you can use in order to search for knowledge, in order to search for some, idea for your presentation, for your paper, for your publication, for your research, for everything. So these are only some examples. So if you cannot stop yourself, using the social media, trying to turn yourself to platforms that are useful and can help you learn something that you are interested. I remember my first publication because I was a flight attendant. And then once I was accepted as a professor at NIDA, I had no publication because we can't use the ones that we published, and the works are related to my PhD program. So we cannot use those works, right? We need to, find another direction of our expertise and then develop, research projects. So I spent the first year doing a lot of publication. It took me 1 year and 8 months to get assistant professor. 1 year and 8 months from nothing. Not because I am, clever, I am whatever, no, but because I manage my time. I think you can do it either. I mean, you can do it too. Manage your time. So in the first year, I had 5 publications. The first year, and at the same time, I was a new professor at NIDA, and I had to teach master degree students. And teaching master PhD students, very demanding. You have to prepare a lot, right? Prepare a lot, but you need to manage. My first publication, I asked myself, what do I like? I like watching, America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, Thailand's Got Talent. So I said, okay, my first research project, the article, I will write something about America's Got Talent and Britain's Got Talent because I love watching these shows. It was so fascinating. It turned out that my publication can appear on Scopus Q2 for the publication because I love watching it. So what I did is I examined the compliments when the judges provide the compliments, right? So I compare compliments between 2 shows. It's called variational pragmatics, right? But I spent too much time working on that, but I'm so happy because I know that that is what I like, right? So I watched it. I felt like every time when I watch the show, oh, this is my data. And I'm so excited when I look at the data. I write the result, and then I, send it to the submission to the journal article. It was accepted. There's no problem, only minor revision. Not because, I'm good at writing. I had no experience. I was a flight attendant before, but I start doing something that I like and I'm really interested, right? That I'm really interested. You have to tell yourself, ask yourself, what do I like? What do I like? And I can spend the rest of my time with it. And then when it comes to the second article, I had a lot of friends, running, tutoring school. I asked myself, why don't I use them as my research participants? I can write a second article. And then I did. I interviewed them. I saw them at their, tuition place, like the school. And then I interviewed them. And then I spent another 7 months doing this publication. And then this paper, was accepted again as Scopus Q2, the second quartile. So, when you do something that you're really interested, you can go far. Because if someone told me to do, okay, Ajahn, can you analyze, can you compare syntax, or can you compare phonetics? No, I have no interest. I have no interest. So I know myself that if I was told to do something, I might not do better comparing to if I tell myself what I should do. So you should tell yourself what you should do that is related to your field. Because right now your field is in English language study, teaching, right? ELT. So what kind of research article we are interested, so that we can develop, we can stay with it, we can be immersed with it, we can spend time with it. So find something that you are interested. So by the end of the year, I can make 5 publications, but not all Scopus. Some of them, the research proceeding, the conference proceeding, like that. But 5 research articles in 1 year. The tip is start with something you are interested. You are interested and you have passion. I will talk about passion later. Okay, the word passion. Okay, so far we talk about the concept of 24 hours a day. No matter who you are rich, you are poor, you are educated, you are not educated, you have 24 hours. How are you going to spend it? I'm not asking how did you spend it, but how are you going to spend it from now? I like the idea that was shared right at the beginning, that you have like proportion and then you divide that into three sections. You have 20, 20, and 20 before beginning the day. So you spend the first 20 minutes for meditation, the second 20 minutes for, the, what did she say? Remember? The meditation and then exercise, and
Exercising.
then planning, right? And planning. So you can use that formula for yourself, and then you can plan out your days more systematically. I encourage every one of you to think about it, okay? So that is the first concept. And then we talk about sleeping, we talk about spending time on social media, right? On social media, okay? Next, I'd like to move on to the next part, which is this one. So how many years do we normally spend for a PhD to graduate? How many years altogether? How many years, in other words, how many years do you expect to finish your PhD? Counting from day one, how many years altogether do you expect to finish your PhD? 5? Or less than 5? I was surprised when I interviewed a student from China and I asked her, like, how many years do you expect to finish? And she said 2 years. And I asked her again, is that 2 years for all coursework or 2 years for the whole program? And she said for the whole program. And then I told her it's impossible. It's impossible. Because how can it be possible to study PhD within 2 years? It's impossible. If you have to do the coursework, it's not possible. It's not possible. So how many years do you expect? How many years? 5?
Yes, 5.
Okay, 5. Okay, 5. What if you have to spend extra year to be 6 years? Would it be okay for you? 6 years? I could not see nodding face. I could see shaking heads. No, not okay. Only 5. Okay, anyway, we talk about 5 or 6 years, right? 5 or 6 years. So when we think about, the number of year, right? The number of year like this. So within, okay, I'd like to get to this one. Okay. We talk about 5 to 6 years. So the numbers of hours, it could be like 10,000, like 52,584 hours. How are you going to spend these, large amount of hours in your study? I don't know whether you have seen or read this book. Have you ever seen or read this book? My advisor, Assistant Professor Dr. Chilantara Siuthai, she gave me the book when I was in the 2nd year. And she said to me, Ton, my nickname is Ton. She told me, Ton, read this book. Read this book. I read this book and I really like it. I think that I learned a lot from this very tiny one. It took me like 1 day, 2 days, and I finished reading the book, the whole book. The name of the book, the title of the book is Write Your Dissertation in 15 minutes a day. The literal meaning is like you spend 15 minutes every day, right? Every day. So if we think about if we take the literal meaning, which is 15 minutes, what is happening in 1 year? It means that you are going to spend 5,475 minutes or 91 hours every year. Right? And what about 5 to 6 years? Of course, increasing, right? Increasing numbers of minutes, increasing numbers of hours. But after reading this book, the author doesn't have the intention that you will follow her literal meaning. It doesn't mean that you do it 15 minutes and then finish. And then next day, another 15 minutes and finish. And then move to another 15 minutes and finish. No. Her intention is quite different. Her intention hidden or hides in the fact that you have to do it every day. Every day. So what does it mean every day doing your research? What does it mean? What discipline will you have after working every day, every day, every day? Consistency, right? Consistency. Okay, before I go there, I would like to talk a little bit about consistency. When I look at the number of hours, minutes, years you have for your entire program for PhD, and according to the book, the author's intention by writing this book, I know that she would like to say that everyone, you need to be consistent. You have to be consistent, right? Why being consistent is so good? Why being consistent is so effective? There are a lot of benefits of consistency. And I found this 10 benefits of consistency in that website. If you are interested, you can use that website and research more. Okay, I'm not talking all of them. Consistency communicates your value. Consistency helps you get better. And by this point, I would like to show you a clip. And I'm sure that this one will give you some inspiration. Okay, some inspiration. So we talk about consistency that will improve your capacity. I'm not very sure whether you have seen this clip or not. Okay, I'm not very sure, but I would like to show this one to you because for me, I learned a lot from these two clips. Okay, from these two clips. Okay. This one, I will take you to have a look at a person. Ability. She's an athlete playing ping pong, right? Ping pong. And she's a Chinese athlete. You can see that, her success today is amazing. It's amazing. So I'd like to take you to see her performance first, okay? Her performance. So now we can see her performance. I'm not going to allow you to watch until the rest of it, maybe half of them.
My goodness.
Can you hear the sound?
Did that just come back over the net? Just
okay,
yes,
she's
sir.
Not this person. Her name is Chen.
It's amazing.
Chen Ming. This one, the one who turning back to us. Okay, the one wearing the red, the pink.
Pretty good away from the table. But it's great tactics from Du Hoi Ken. She knew she had to try and get in with a strong forehand topspin. She gambled. We'll see it here. She's just about to gamble and run around the backhand.
Deep to the backhand. Oh, and Cheng Ming is there.
This
she
is
catches
beautiful, beautiful. Well covered from both sides. My God. This time, Zhong rallies, and Chen Ming laughs last.
This was a very nice. I think Sun did the right things deep into the backhand, and Cheng is still catching it.
Even good retrieval from Sun.
Good retrieval again. And she uses her backhand, and now it's the good placement. She was running to the ball, but she stopped in it. It was just too far away.
We're not watching the whole games, but is she amazing? Is she amazing?
Yes, she is.
Yes, she is, right? She is. So when you look at someone, when they are successful, you might say that, wow, that person is so amazing. I would like to be like her. I would like to be the bass player. But we haven't looked at her past history, the way that she has been trained, right? Has been trained. So look at the way that she was trained, right? She was trained in the past. This is her when she was 6 years old.
他做事情还是比较从一而终的，就是说比较认真，比较刻苦。孩子哭嘛，就是说做父母的肯定要心疼一点，但是这个也是一种人生中的一种经历吧，这是学习中必须要经历的东西。
我们当然是非常高兴的，他自己也很开心。我们也会让他放平心态，继续的去训练，去打好乒乓球。打乒乓球天分这一块，我们觉得只占很小的一部分。如果说想走专业或者想出很好的成绩的话，那他还是要自己要去努力。
因为现在还太小，他毕竟才刚6岁，那我们就是看看他自己的喜爱程度吧。如果自己想做一名运动员，那我们就非常会支持他。那如果说只是想通过乒乓球来说锻炼一下身体，那我们也会尊重他。
Okay. Well, the point is, I would like you to be consistent when you do something. Like this kid, right? She was so, she put a lot of effort and she be consistent. I know that when she was kid, she would like to play as other, kids, right? But she had like determination that she would like to become a professional athlete. And then she became, finally she becomes a professional athlete because of her perseverance, because of her consistency. So if you would like to see yourself as a researcher, professional researcher, so you have to work hard today. You cannot see, very beautiful, picture by the end of the day without working so hard today. It's impossible. If you see somebody who get achievement, like their publication can be on Scopus database, they can go overseas, they can get scholarship. Behind the scene, everyone works so hard. Behind the scene, everyone works so hard. So I think I would like to encourage you to work a little bit harder. If you work hard already, it's good. And I would like you to work a little bit harder. And then if you work hard, it's good, but be consistent, it's better. So you have to keep doing it, every day on a daily basis, right? On a daily basis. Apart from consistency helps you get better, I would also like to focus on number 5. Okay, number 5, we talk about consistency increases your self-confidence. You will gain confidence if you are consistent with something. I remember when I studied EIL, English as an International Language program at NIDA at Chulalongkorn University. By the end of each semester, there is a seminar. It's called DDS. The first D is doctoral, and the second one is doctoral dissertation, and then seminar. So what we normally did is we normally presented our paper, our progress, our work, and then we did it every single semester. By the end of each semester, we did the DDS, the doctoral dissertation seminar. So I spent 7 years doing my PhD. 1 year I was in the United States, so 6 years. And then the first year, we do not do it. We are not allowed to do it because we do not have the research idea, right? So finally, I have 5 years. So I mean, twice a year. So I have 10 times practicing doing the doctoral dissertation seminar, present my project, to receive question, feedback, and answer the question. Because I did that, because Chulalongkorn did that for everyone, we gained confidence, the level of confidence. So I would like to show you some of the atmosphere, right? So I remember by the time I started doing my study in 2010, and I graduated in 2017, right? 16, I remember. Okay. So this is what we did. It's called DDS. You see me there. And then in this panel, all of the professors from the Faculty of Arts, Language Institute, or the Faculty of Education from Chulalongkorn. And then they gave a lot of feedback question. They asked a lot of questions. And then this side will be, other, colleagues, classmates, senior, juniors. And then we have this kind of environment, right? In this kind of environment. And we make the presentation every semester. And because we keep it consistent, it built up my confidence. So I can go and make the real international presentation. This was not the first time. I was in UCLA making my presentation in front of international audience. This one at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And these are professors in the field like Marina Tekharafi, Badovi Halik. So they were attending my presentation. And this time I went to the University of York talking about the development of my taxonomy, right? Taxonomy. And these are PhD students. The point that I show you here is that because I keep doing, practicing the presentation about my project over 10 times, what happened is I gained confidence. So I am confident to go to real international stages, and then I make my presentation. If you do not practice, that is one thing. But if you practice, you have to keep it, consistent on a regular basis. So I think this is good points about being consistent. Okay, being consistent. So right now, I would like to recap what I covered so far, right? We spent the first hour talking about 24 hours. How did we manage in the past, our 24 hours? And I finished by asking you an encouraging question. How are you going to spend your 24 hours from today to tomorrow until the rest of your journey as a PhD student? How are you going to spend your 24 hours? And that is the answer you have to tell yourself, right? And in the second half, I come back and look at, the thing that I would like to call as the key principle, which is the consistency, right? Consistency. And we can see, professional athletes, before she becomes, the way she is right now, she has to be, consistent, practicing, working so hard. So I come to the conclusion for the first two topics. As a researcher, you have to think about your time that you have within one day. How are you going to spend it? Number two, being consistent, right? Being consistent. Okay, so far, you have any questions? Do you have any question, feedback, comments, or you have anything that you would like to share? The floor is yours. And after the break, I will get more deeper, because, a lot of people ask me, Ajahn, it's not very easy to be consistent. We know the benefit of consistency, but in reality, we have a lot of interruptions. How can we do it? And then the second break, after the break, we will come back and explore and delve more on those topics. Right now, I think I'd like to spend maybe like 5 minutes for you to ask me questions or give some feedback or share your experience about being consistent, or anything that you would like to share. Okay, please go ahead. I have your name list here. No,
okay, excuse me, sir.
Okay.
I'm Wanchana Bunchom, batch 2 PhD student in LT, Buriram, Rajabhat University. I just was wondering about the topic that you mentioned about your first and second articles. Right? It's they are very interesting for me, so I want to know how can I find them.
Sure. The first one was published with Learn Journal. You know it, right? Learn Journal. Second, the Scopus. I think you have met Ajahn Supagon. I think you know him, right? He's very excellent professor, and that was in Scopus Learn article. And then the second one, do you know Ajahn Thanit from Reflection Journal? It was on reflections. I will show you the link. I will give you the link. You can read it. Yes. Thank you for interested in that. And right now I'm interested in something else different, because you cannot spend, I don't know, for your research, for your article. I think you should change that. When you finish this project, try to look at something else that you are interested. I'm interested in the philosophy and theology. I'm a Catholic, so I plan already that I'm working on the next project. So I'm working on storytelling. Storytelling, because I have nothing. Then my knowledge about storytelling, not just like how can I practice it, but the theory, almost like zero. I know nothing about storytelling. What I did is I enrolled an online course for 8 weeks at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and just finished it to learn the principle of storytelling. And I finished that course already. And then I'd like to combine the storytelling into the one that I'm interested, which is theology. So I look at how Jesus in the Bible used storytelling to tell people, to teach morality to people. And it was like 2,000 years ago, but his teaching still effective because he used storytelling. And a lot of time when he did the storytelling narrates that something that imperceptible. Imperceptible means something that we do not have experience with. He talked about heaven. He talked about the hell. So we haven't been there, but how can we get the picture? How can we understand his messages? So these two, the storytelling techniques. So I'm interested. When you are interested in something, you have to find the knowledge. Like I did, I take the course at MIT, right? And I also take course like in philosophy and theology. I'm a student. Right now, I'm also a student. You might not imagine that I'm wearing a t-shirt like others, university student. I went to class, they have like online class, sitting among, the real undergraduate students, even though I look, older, the oldest, but I studied, the theology because I would like to make this research project the best with my best effort. You cannot do research if you do not know well about what you are doing. So you have to understand every single detail. And then first of all, you have to ask yourself, what am I interested at this moment? So after this research, I give myself a year because I plan to have 2 publications from this project. I mean, theology, philosophy, storytelling, and whatever. So I combine this and I try to finish it within next year, right? Next year. And after that, I think my interest will change. I would like to look at something else like intercultural communication in mass media. So, you know, I encouraging you to look at something else different, right? Something else different to keep yourself alert so that you can have an idea to develop your research and then turn it to be something that you are interested. Do not do something that you have no interest, because you will get bored, and after that you will not be able to finish the project. So try to think what I am interested the most at that moment, and see possibility whether you can develop it to be a one, you know, research project. If you can do it, go ahead. Do not wait. Do not wait, because you know right now things is in the exponentially changing world. Everything happens so fast. You know, if the same can be said about the topic as well. If you're interested in something and then you wait for so long, that topic can be out of date. So if you're interested, it's like trendy, start doing it. Find the knowledge, try the way that you can do your research. One good thing is all about doing research. You can do any topics that are related to English language teaching, but you can do anything: reading, writing, grammatical structure, mainstream teaching, tutorial school, whatever. There are a lot, plenty of possible, but think about it. How can you think about it? You have to be immersed, get yourself some time reading, listening, talking to people. Then you get an idea and get an idea. Thank you for asking about my publication. And if I have my next publication, if you're interested, you can search my name. You can have a look at my publication in the future. So I plan to have this kind of publication. I'm planning to write a book. My book will be in English for intercultural communication across contexts. So I select 5 different contexts, which are business, education, mass media, religion, and healthcare. But this will be a long-term project. It will be like in the next 2 years that I will finish the project. But anyway, keep thinking, you know, possibility. You know, you have to find connection and networks, right? Because you know, later after the break, I will tell you that you have to admit what you cannot do well, and then you have to rely on someone else. Do not say that I can do everything because I am a PhD student. Even I graduated, I have to admit that something I am not good at it, and I need to rely on someone else. For instance, like quantitative research, I'm not good at mathematics. So every time when I deal with the quantitative analysis, I will go to see my friend who is in logistics. He studied like logistics and he's good at quantitative analysis. So he can help me. I have to rely on him. So PhD study is not your personal direction. You have to rely on several people. And that is why you need to find connection and build networks. Network is so important for your PhD. Do not stay alone. Do not be so independent, because finally you will see something that you can't not do. So I'd like to encourage you to find good connection and work together with so many people in the field or even across the field. Right now, I'm so interested in working with people from other fields. NIDA, we just had the MOU signing with the nursing faculty from Thammasat University. So they're interested in, you know, joining the 2 branches of knowledge, like using English for communication in the healthcare setting. So I think, you know, connecting with people in your field and outside of your field will give you a lot of benefits. That's all for me. So do you have any other questions? Okay, so why don't we have a break, right? We have a break for 15 minutes.
Yes, it's time for refreshment. Okay, so please come back in 15 minutes.
Okay, see you at 2:45, right? 2:45.
Thank you, Professor. Okay, welcome back all participants.
Okay, can I start, or you would like to say something, Ajahn? Do you want to say something, or?
No, you can start.
Okay, I can start. Okay, so for your information, I posted 3 things on the meeting chat. The first one is the article published with Learn at the beginning of the year 2021, and then the second link was the one that I have the publication with reflection, and then the last one was the YouTube link that I made a presentation before doing the second article publication. It's all about shadow education, but I deliver it in Thai, okay, in Thai. So I do apologize for non-Thai. You might have access, but you might not understand it. But I speak it in Thai. You might get some idea to develop your personal research article. And who knows, in the future, we can work together and develop some small project. You can have a look at that. Okay, you can have a look at that. Okay, so can I continue my presentation about, how to manage your life, your PhD student's life? Okay, so we get back to this slide. We talk about, so far, we talk about the consistency, right? We talk about consistency or being consistent. But in reality, I know that we all have good intention. We would like to say that I will spend, most of my time doing study. I would like to do my research. I would like to do my article publication. I would like to, talk to my advisor every day. But in fact, we can't do that because there are so many interruptions, right? Interruption. And then I'm not talking about the interruption, like I'm not, trying to spell out all the interruptions, because, my interruption would be one thing, your interruption would be another thing. They're quite different. But no matter what kind of interruptions they are, it causes stress. So my very simple question, what is stress? What is stress? What does it mean to you? I'm not looking for the definition of stress because we all know what is stress. But what stress means to you? Do you like stress? Do you like being stressful? No, we do not like being stressful, right? So stress is not so good in general. But if we talk about the amount of stress, a little bit of stress might be good because it will give you some excitement and you would like to pay more attention, you would like to focus more. So that might be good. But if you have a lot of stress, it's not good. It can turn out to be, some, disease, some mental problems. So I think, when we talk about stress, and if we talk about excessive stress, we do not like it, right? We do not like it. Okay. Kun Yuthajak, ใช่ไหมครับ James? He said that it means the situation where workload seems to block me from doing or living well. It's good. Exactly. Right? Exactly. So we come back to the stress, right? Stress. So I took this one, not from myself. I look at the article in 2018. They talk about stress among postgraduate students. You are postgraduate students, and these are stresses that we could see in their life in the similar compatible groups of people, right? Groups of people. They talk about academic related stressor, performance stress, pressure related stressor, and many more. and poor relationship with superior related stressor, poor relationship with colleagues related stressor. They listed altogether 7 stressor, but I'm not going to focus on each of them, okay? Only the one that I highlighted. Okay, the first one, academic related stressor. When we talk about academic related stressor, we could talk about the workload. First of all, taste and examinations. How many taste and examination do you have per semester? It depends on how many courses you enroll, right, for your coursework. And then every midterm, every final, you are going to see the tests and examinations. And this causes stress, right? The second one is the time, lack of time to review what has been learned. Remember the case when we talk about Michael's? He said that he spent 3 hours revising what he studied. And I say that is the key principle, because if you do not revise what you study, you will gradually, eventually cannot remember, forget it, right? You have to revise it. You have to revise everything you have studied, maybe on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, whatever. But you have to do the revision. You have to revise what you study, And then, I usually tell my students, when you read an article, not just simply reading, not just read it and finish it. You have to do what I call reflection. And then the reflection is not like summary. I'm not asking for you to summarize an article, but what I would like you to see you to extend knowledge is to look at weaknesses and strengths of the article. I like this article because, they plan out so well. They recruit the research participant so thoroughly, and I like that idea. So keep it, record it. But I don't like it because whatever, and how are you going to improve it? So these, according to me, telling my students, is called reflections. So every article, when they read it, they need to make reflections. I'm going to have another research project. I'm not so sure whether I will have time to do it, but I would like to do like, a YouTube channel, telling people how to reflect on research articles. And I'd like to do it as many as possible, but I don't know whether I will have time to do that, but I plan to do it because I like to tell people how can we manage, when you read article, not just like reading word by word and then finish it. You have to criticize it. And how are you going to criticize it? And make connections to your research, right? To your research. Making connection is very important. Very important. How can you reap benefit from reading article each week for your final project, for your doctoral dissertation? How are you going to reap benefit from reading articles like that? If you cannot make connection, the point is you are going to spend time reading a lot of articles, and by the end of the day, you cannot make any connection. It's like you have to start reading new things again, right? But the point that I'd like to make is we have to make connection, right? Connection, what we are reading to what we are doing as the final makeup project, which is the doctoral dissertation. Make connection, okay? Well, I get back to this one. We talk about the first 2 academic related stressor, right? The first one is test and examination, right? Taste and examination. Lack of time to review and difficulty understanding content. I'm sure that when you learn something new, even like in your field, I'm sure that many times you encounter problems like we do not understand, even like we do not understand it at all. After lecturing, after the first time you heard that, you saw it, you read it. So you need times to do the revision. You have to go back and read it again. You have to go back and discuss among your friends. Again, I encountered that countless times, many times. It happens for everyone, right? When I was in a class where all PhD students doing experimental pragmatics, I remember the first 4 weeks, it was totally something new. I haven't heard anything about them before. a lot of confusion. But I talk to my friend, I talk to my professor, I go back and revise until I get the knowledge, right? Until I understand it thoroughly. The last part is called the large amount of content to be learned. So, you know, a lot of time we study too many courses, right? Too many courses. Remember when you studied the coursework, how many subjects did you enroll per semester? How many subjects?
2 or 3, right?
Okay, 2 or 3. And then are they related in terms of the field of knowledge, or are they different fields? So what are the subjects? You can tell me then. What are the subjects? Then I can tell you whether they are related or they're not related.
But I think the semester is related. Like we take advanced writing, right?
Good.
Yeah, academic writing and advanced research methodology. So I think it is related. Yeah.
Very, very related. Well, the point is, it doesn't matter whether it's related or it's not related, because in my case, I study in the program that is called interdisciplinary. Interdisciplinary means a lot of discipline, right? In one semester, I study assessment, I study language teaching principle, I study introduction to linguistics. They seem to be irrelevant, right? They seem to be irrelevant. But these will create a lot of workload, because the three, you cannot find, you know, the mutual agreements between one another, right? So the core principle, it means that you have to work hard, a little bit harder, but it's okay. But if, like, for instance, Kun Pattanan, right, you say that this semester in particular, what you enroll, you know, seem to go together, they seem to go together. That is good, because, you know, the content you learn from this course, like the writing, can make you become a better researcher. And at the same time, doing the research methodology would be able to help you to become a good writer. So in this case, you have to make connection, right? You have to make connection. It doesn't matter, but the point is, if the courses seem to be irrelevant, you are going to experience more stress, because to me, it seems like you are going to have more stressor. It's going to cause you a lot more stress, right? A lot more stress. And those are academic related stressor. I mean, according to the study, they listed the first one, tests and examinations, and then the second one, 2.91, which is the large amount of content to be learned. So if they're not related, you have to bear in mind that you have to plan well, right? You have to plan yourself very well, because the content being learned in that semester is going to be a lot more different. I mean, they're different from one another. The second part that I would like to focus is all about the, apart from the academic related, performance pressure related stressor. You can see the top one is workload. We talk about workload. What is workload? Workload. What is it? The workload. I have a clip, a short clip, showing you about the definition of workload. And I think it's quite good. They talk about the work, not the workload, they talk about deadline. But this one, how to meet the deadline. Okay, but maybe later. But when we talk about workload, I mean, you have a lot of work and you have to finish, you know, gradually finish it. Otherwise, the workloads can be so intense. If it's become so intense, what is happening is it's going to create more stress, pressure, right? Pressure. These study, they talk about the workloads as number one, performance pressure, time pressure, and deadlines to meet. Okay, think about the past. In the past, how many deadlines did you normally have for one semester? Think about big deadlines related to your study. How many deadlines did you have in the past? Okay, and then another question that I would like to ask you, can you meet the deadline every time? Okay, if you say yes, what is the most difficult, challenging, or challenged for you to be able to meet the deadline? What is the biggest challenge? What makes you becomes able to meet the deadline, but what is the biggest challenge? Okay, think about those answers, right? Those answers, because I like you to talk to yourself, right? Think about it. Think about the deadline. The biggest challenge is to get myself to start working. Yes. Well, I got told from my colleagues, you know, when you start working, I mean, when you are in the process of working, it's okay. But when you finished it and get started a new project, it might take longer time. So that is one of the challenges for her. And I think it's similar to this one by James, right? He said that the biggest challenge is to get yourself to start working. To get started is quite difficult. I mean, it's challenging. And then you have to tell yourself, to ask yourself, and what is the motivation to get yourself to the work, to get started? You don't have to tell me, but tell yourself and see whether that strategy is effective. If it is effective, keep using it. If it is not effective, try another direction, try another solution, try another ways. Because, if our challenge is similar about start working, my solution, I'm sure that if it is effective for me, it will not be effective for Kun On Siri. It will not be effective for Kun Wanchana, because you will have your own ways to tackle the same problem. But you have to observe yourself in the past, what strategy worked best for you, and try to use that. But if that strategy doesn't seem to work so well, change it. Because throughout your life, you are going to see workload, deadline, pressure, stress. You cannot avoid these things. But if you would like to avoid it, I highly recommend, stop doing your PhD. Because if you decided to do your PhD and you would like to become doctor, you cannot avoid having workloads, pressure, stress, and meeting deadlines. These will happen again and again and again and again. How can you live with these challenges? That's very important, right? That is important. Okay, so we would like to talk a little bit about deadline, right? Deadline. This channel, the YouTuber, he's a professor. He talked about like soft skill, and he's like a coach, telling people how to develop the soft skill, like put yourself until tomorrow. If you feel, resistant, how can you solve that problem? Whatever. So if you subscribe to him, his name is James Hatton. So you're going to see a lot of good recommendations. I'm not going to spend time, but I will post this one as the initial clip. And once you click the clip, you will get through this person productions, and he provides a lot of advice, good advice, especially this one, PhD tips for every one of you, how to meet deadlines. Okay, how to meet deadlines. And this one is good. Okay, so before knowing how to meet deadlines, what is deadline? Okay, so we watch this together, only 1 minute and 44 seconds. Can you hear it?
A deadline is simple. It's the time by which something must be done or finished, or the latest date by which it can be submitted. It's therefore a fundamental part of our project activities, isn't it? But there's another meaning of deadline, and it comes from the American Civil War, and in particular from the Andersonville prisoner of war camp. It was a Confederate prisoner of war camp which held Union prisoners. Some distance from a wire boundary fence, there was a line marked out, and anyone who crossed that line was shot. That was the deadline. Is it any wonder that we find deadlines motivating? But motivating with fear. We fear a deadline, and many people find deadlines galvanize them to get things done because of the fear of missing the deadline and therefore of the consequences. A similar concept, of course, is a milestone, but the difference is that milestones motivate with the pleasure of achieving something and reaching somewhere of value. I prefer to use milestones, and I'll make another video about milestones at some point in the future. But as a project manager, you need to understand the difference in the effect that milestones and deadlines have, and therefore to choose wisely which ones you're going to use in which circumstances to motivate your team.
So we understand, the basic concept of deadline. So we would like to meet the deadline because we have the feeling of fear. We fear that if we miss deadline, negative consequences will take place, right? Will take place. So we try to, meet the deadline. We try to finish things before the deadline, right? The deadline. And then the PhD student's life, you will encounter this kind of situation over and over again. Okay, over and over again. You cannot refuse it. You cannot deny it. These are, few examples, right, of stressor. We talk about stressor in terms of the relationship, right? This relationship with superior related stressor, right? I'm not talking about all of them, but I like to talk about your relationship with the advisor, okay, advisor. In the Thai context, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it. Well, if you develop good relationship with your advisor, I think it's more likely that you will work with harmony, right, with your advisor. And then everything will be you will feel very encouraging, you will feel positive. So you have to develop, good relationship. But I do not mean that you have to please your advisor, right? You can be yourself, but try to prove that you are diligent, you are disciplined, you work hard. Do not disappoint your advisor by working, by being a lazy student, by being, do not meet the deadlines or whatever. So try to make, develop good relationship, because I believe that every teacher, every supervisor, not only in Thailand, in China, in USA, all of them have the spirit of being a teacher. They would like to see your progress. They would like to see your bright future. When I advise my students, I would like to see them graduate, all of them. All of them. I mean, some of you are already teacher. You would know that you would like to see your students progress, achievement, success. We do not want our students to be down, to be, fail, to be unsuccessful. No, we do not want to see that. But you have to prove to your thesis advisor, and you have to get along well with them, with her, with him, right? With him. Because you are developing good interpersonal skill, right? Good interpersonal skill with, your advisor. The next one is the relationship with your colleagues. I'm not spending much time on these topics, but this can also cause stressor, like some stress, right? If you have bad relationship, unhealthy relationship with your colleagues, right? With your colleagues. Then it comes to me, how can I make advice? Because now we know that there are a lot of problems. We would like to spend our 24 hours working with our best efforts. We know that consistency is the key. We have to stay focused. We have to work hard every day. We have to work, on our research project. We have to talk to our thesis advisor. But in reality, we fail to do that because we have a lot of interruptions. because I am a father of 2 boys. I am a mother of 1 kid. I'm working as a professor. I'm the dean of that department. I have other things to do. There's so many interruptions, right? There's so many interruptions. So I asked myself, what can I make suggestion? What suggestion can I make? Can I give to all of you? Because, you know, if I give my personal advice, it will be very subjective, right? It will be subjective. So I went around and looked at, you know, university when they make recommendation for students, like postgraduate students, and I take some of the advice that I think they may be very useful, right? Very useful. So I take it from the first one. I took it from this university. I don't know whether you have heard this name before, but I like the way that they collected the data. They went around and looked at successful who graduated, like postgraduate students who graduated from this university. And then they asked them about advice. How would you advise, you know, junior students if they are struggling with their study? And these are their suggestions. Okay, these are their suggestion or advice. Okay. They say that number 1, develop discipline and self-motivation. Okay, and self-motivation. There are 2 types of motivations, broadly speaking. Intrinsic motivation, I think you have heard about it. Extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is the motivation inside yourself. You would like to get PhD because you would like to grow as a person, stronger, more academically advanced. So that's the reason why I chose to study PhD program. The extrinsic motivation is like the reward that you are given. For instance, if I get PhD, my salary will increase. I will get promoted. I have a lot, I mean, the bright future awaiting. So that could be, you know, the extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. It doesn't matter, but you need to ask yourself, what motivates me to study PhD? So can I ask you, what is your motivation to do your PhD? Do you want to share? What motivates you to do this degree? I'm sure that you have a motivation, because without motivation, you will not be here. It's suffering. It's a suffering process. It's a long, you know, long journey until you graduate. But you need to have motivation. But what is my motivation? What is your motivation?
May I start?
Okay, please, Yeli.
Yeah, and my motivation to pursue the PhD, just maybe I just want to improve my English competence, and then help and become a good teacher.
Good, good. So this one, intrinsic motivation, right? She would like to improve herself because she knows that this university will help her, right? Improve her ability. And after that, she can improve her own teaching techniques. She will become a better teacher, a better instructor, a better professor. And that is good. That is motivation. Okay, anything else?
Well, for me, I think it's quite the same as Healy. What I wanted, the reason I wanted to join the PhD program, because I feel like I don't know a lot of things, and I would like to learn more so that I can put things that I know into the class that I teach. And also, maybe if I know more, I can share other people more.
Good, good, it's good. Very good. I love this answer. It's like when you are in front of the classroom, you would like to make contribution to your students, right? Before you're able to make contribution, you need to be, you know, expert, like your expertise. You have to know more, then you can share. If you know little or very, you know, a few, you know, tips and everything, how can you share your knowledge to other people? How can you make contribution to people? Right? Because knowledge nowadays can be searched from everywhere, like online searching engine. It's not difficult at all. But being a teacher, you have to make contribution. What I find, very fascinating is to go around different places and motivate people like this, like what I'm doing right now. So I think this one is quite fascinating. I think, if you motivate people to go back in their own way, and then they, develop themselves and make contribution to their own society, and that is so good. So, our task is to make contribution to what we are doing. Before we can make contribution, what we have to do is we have to instill knowledge and increase our capacity. I began my career as English language teacher, but I think that there are so many things that is so fascinating. I enroll, a few courses in communication. How can I inspire people? So I went to study communication strategy at Cambridge University in 2021. 2020, when I first joined NIDA, I enroll a short course in presentation. How can I make impact and influence people? And I study at University of Howard. So I take courses from big university because I would like to know, how can I inspire people? How can I make change to people? Because if I can make change to these people, they can develop their own way and make contribution to people in their own, scope. Because I myself cannot do, I cannot go to Buriram every week and then teach students, but you can do it instead of me, right? And then you can be teacher, good, effective teacher, and you can, make contribution to these people. What is my task is to inspire you, to let you see that how can we make the life of a teacher to be a lot of fun, to be interesting, to develop ourselves. And finally, like Ajahn Piyachat and Gili said, we have to go out and make contribution to the world, right? And that is so significant. You may later on find out what you are interested, right? You are interested. We begin the same career as English language teacher, but maybe along the way of your development, you might find something else more interesting. And then you can develop yourself. Okay, anyone else? Thank you very much for your contribution, but anyone else would like to share? Okay, if not, I'd like to get back to the slide. Then we talk about this, the motivation, discipline, the self-motivation. And then I'd like you to keep remembering, remember your motivation, because along the long way, the long journey, one day you will feel, you will feel sad, you will feel down, you will feel unhappy. I think this happened. But remember your motivation. I remember when I was, before I received this scholarship, Fulbright hosted a small event, very casual. I met with the C. Wright Award winner, Kun Ngam Pan Pom, Kun Ngam Pan Wechan Chiwa, the one who wrote Kwam Sukh Khong Kati. So I asked her, what was your motivation to write so many books? And most of them turned out to be very successful. And she said that because her love writing, she loves writing, conveying messages, and she would like everybody to read her thoughts. And that is her motivation, intrinsic. And I say, I lacked motivation at that time. I don't know whether I could finish my study, but she said that, think about your title. Finally, you are going to earn the title, right? From Ajahn Piyachat, you are going to be Dr. Piyachat. From Pattanan, you're going to be Dr. Pattanan, right? From, Onsiri, Ajahn Onsiri, you're going to be Dr. Onsiri. So this is your motivation, part of your extrinsic motivation. Kun Ngam Pan told me like this. So keep thinking about this. It doesn't, it's not very important, but finally, this one is a kind of reward that you will be given by the end of the day. You work, Kun Ngam Pan said that she works, it seemed like she works for nothing, because by the end of the day, she doesn't know whether there are going to be a lot of people likes her reading, But for writing the writing for the dissertation, thesis, for PhD, for master degree, finally you earn a degree. Finally you earn the title. And that is a kind of motivation. So keep thinking about this one, okay? Thinking about this one. Okay, so you need to develop, okay, self-discipline, self-motivation. And then I have a graph later on. I will tell you that there is a connection. And then enjoy a balanced lifestyle. Remember the case that I show you from the platform that people post the question and then someone answered the question. Remember the case of Michael? His performance was really, really impressive. He got 96.5% every semester. But look at his life. He balanced it. He sleep, 8 hours a day, right? Spend time eating, and then work, revision, and sometime, playing video games. So you have to, balance your lifestyle. And I can guarantee that if you stay still in front of the computer, working every day, I'm skeptical about the quality of the work. Because if you do not balance your lifestyle, then the creativity and productivity will not be the result, right? So you think about yourself, you ask yourself, what kind of activity that I would like to do when I have free time? You might like to go swimming. You might like to go out for the beach, and sit there. You might like to be massaged. You might like to go shopping. Mine and yours will be different, but find a thing that you feel pleased and you enjoy doing it. And then you balanced it. Do not put strong focus on your study. And I cannot see anyone in my entire life, becoming top professor, and then they spend times, 100 of their time, in front of computer reading. You have to balance your life. Otherwise, your life will be so stressful, right? So stressful. Okay. Tip number 1, develop discipline, self-motivation, enjoy a balanced lifestyle. Number 3, build a strong relationship with your supervisor. I could see many of my friends who could not graduate because they have conflict with their supervisor. And this is reality. This is real, right? This is real. So we have to bear in mind, it doesn't mean that we have to, please our advisor, every occasion, like New Year, we have to buy gift. No, it doesn't mean like that. What I mean is you have to develop, strong relationship, strong academic relationship with your advisor. You need to prove that you are adult, you are independent researcher, you are responsible, right, to them. Once they rely on you, your relationship will last, longer than you expect. I think about my case. I'm very fortunate to see this professor. She was one of the, I could say she was one of the toughest, professor when we study. A lot of people fail her course, but I see that her determination, her dedication, I could see from her. And I know that her style and my style matches. And that's the reason why I went to her office right after the first class, the first day I met her in Foundation of Linguistic courses. I asked her to accept me as her thesis advisee. And she said, well, we have to get to know one another, because she didn't know by that time, she didn't know me well about my expertise, about my interest, right? So she said that we need to take time until the rest of the semester, then I can say whether I would like to be your advisor or not. And then we worked together. I proved to my advisor that I have strong determination, and the only thing that I would like to get from her is the knowledge. Advise me to become independent researcher. And we work together. Up until present, we have good relationship. Even right now, before I decided to quit job from Thai Airways, I went to see my advisor and then I follow her advice. I asked her, Ajahn, do you think I should leave Thai Airways because I'm going to be a lecturer at NIDA? What do you think? So if the relationship is good, it will turn out to be a permanent and long-term relationship. And I would like to encourage you to build up that kind of relationship with your advisor. It's very crucial. Again, when I talk about networking, so when you have good relationship with your advisor, you can consult her, you can consult him, and then if you follow the advice of your advisor, I think they are, they would give you the best advice, right? Base advice, and they have more experience than you, right? So trust them. But at least before we, develop the good relationship, you need to prove yourself that you are determined, you are dedicated, you work hard, so that they will accept you, they will trust in your capacity and the will of pursuing your higher education. You have to prove that. In Thai society, is quite sensitive, right? It's quite sensitive. In my entire life, I could say that I see more than 5 cases, right? More than 5 cases. They cannot finish, they could not finish their studies simply because they could not get along well with their supervisor, right? In Thailand. So that is one of the things that we have to bear in mind, right? We have to bear in mind before we decide who should be your advisor. You have to get to know that person well enough, not a little bit, well enough, because you are going to stay with that person for another 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Don't you think that within this year, you are going to have some conflict with them, right? So you have to get to know, those people, I mean, the supervisor, right? Supervisor, and then see how that works, their expertise. Are there any similarities, dissimilarities, right, between you and your advisor? Think about it, right? Think about it. It's quite sensitive. It's quite sensitive. It's one of the biggest major factors, right, to be considered. I'd like you to consider this point as well. Okay, next. Apart from building a strong relationship with your supervisor, I'd like you to think about your passion, right? You need to have enormous amounts of passion. You have to have passion, enthusiasm for your research topic. I'm sure that at your university, the one who generates the topic for your research is you, right? Working along with your advisor. I'm sure that no one would be assigned the topic. You will create the topic, you will find the topic, you will generate the topic by yourself. So once it comes out from you, it should be from your own interest, And again, do not compare yourself with other people. Because when your friends got the research title, they got to know what the title, what the topics, areas they are working, and you do not have the topic yet. Do not compare yourself to your friends. Why? Because it might take longer time for you to see what kind of topic I would like to explore, right? What kind of topic you would like to explore, what kind of topic I would like to investigate. And I'm going to stay with this topic for at least 3 years, 4 years. And then the other thing that I would like you to bear in mind is that the topic you are thinking currently will be done in the next 3 years and 4 years. And by that time, think that the topic you have been doing will not be outdated. So the topic you are doing right now doesn't mean that you are going to finish it within this year. It will be done in the next 4 years and 5 years. And by that time, will this topic still be around people's interest, or will that be out of interest? I could see a few, not too many examples. I could see at least one example. She did syntactic study. And then by the time she did the syntactic study, Everyone were interested in the theory and everything, but she developed her case for the next 6 years. And by the end of her study, the theory, the principle she used was proved invalid. And then no one's, was interested in that theory. I mean, syntactic theory. I have no idea about it, but, and that gave her a lot of headache because she cannot publish her work. She cannot go presenting the paper. Finally, she could not finish the project. So think about the topic you are doing right now. Whether in the next 5 years, the topic still be popular, right? Still be popular and people still talk about it, right? Still talk about it. So in English language teaching, can you tell me, if you think about the topic, what topic could it be that in the next 5 years still, popular, still famous? Can you think of any topic? To my quick thought, I would like to talk about, the application of technology helping, people learn English. So that would be something that we have to admit that it will be related to us as language teacher. Yes, language teaching technology, right? And what about the language pedagogy, like pedagogical principle after COVID? Right, people talk about platform that we study like face-to-face, right, in the past. But what about home-based learning? It's getting famous, right? Home-based learning is getting, very famous. So this kind of topics, if you are interested, explore it, because in the next, 4 years and 5 years, I think these will be trendy and people still talking about it. And if you can develop something new, you might be an expert in this field, right? In this field. So think about this as well. Okay, think about this as well. Okay, we move on to the next one. Okay. Apart from having enormous amounts of passion and then enthusiasm, you need to spend time, right, to find out your passion, right? To passion. Okay, I forgot to show you a clip. Okay. I'd like to ask you, what is passion? What is passion? You don't have to tell me, you tell yourself, okay, what is passion? Okay, rating 1 to 10, okay, 1 to 10. 1 is the least and 10 is the highest, the most. I'd like to know about your passion with your study, with your dissertation, with your study. How much passion do you have? If you have to rate yourself 1 to 10 now, I mean, right now, the feeling right now. Okay, you don't have to tell me, okay, you tell yourself, like rating yourself. And then I'd like you to rate yourself every year, right? Rating yourself on the same scale and compare yourself whether to see are there any progresses? Is there any progress in your passion, right? Passion. So when we talk about passion, it's very difficult to define what passion is, right? What passion is. But people keep asking, you have to find passion. You have to know your passion. You have to know what you would like to do. And if you have passion, it's good. You can become very, you can become successful if you have passion, right? If you have passion. But what is passion, and how can I find my passion? How can I find my passion? So this clip will show you what is passion and how can we find the passion. This one we watched it already, this one too. Okay, this one passion, maybe 5 minutes. We watch this together.
Most common questions I receive is improvement pill. I don't know what I want to do in life.
Can you hear it? Yeli, can you hear it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
How can I find my passion? And that's a pretty important question. So in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do just that. This episode was brought to you with the help of the guys at Skillshare.com. The first 350 people that click on the link in the description box below will get a 2-month free trial at Skillshare. Now, before we get started, I want to debunk something. A lot of us are under the assumption that there's only one thing out there that can be our passion, that it's predetermined by birth, and that all we have to do is find it. But that's not how it works. The truth of the matter is that there's probably probably many things that could potentially be your passion. In fact, it's entirely possible to have more than one passion. If you take a look at a lot of very successful people, you'll find that this is generally the case. For example, Tim Ferriss is a well-known author and speaker. But did you know that he was also a competitive dancer, wrestler, and investor? There's only two things you need to do in order for you to discover one of your passions. The first is that you must change where you get your dopamine from. Dopamine is the chemical that is released by our brain that motivates us to do things. Without it, you will literally starve to death, even if there was food right in front of you. The release of dopamine is also accompanied by pleasure. The problem nowadays is that dopamine is very easy to get. It's cheap and it's abundant everywhere. Back in the day, we had to do stuff in order to get that dopamine, and most of the time that meant creating something. You had to build a house, you had to create a nice piece of pottery, you had to go out and tend to your crops. While you worked on these tasks, you were flooded with dopamine and you felt good about the whole process. If you follow this route, you naturally become passionate about whatever it is that you did. But nowadays, it's a little bit different. We can now flood our brain with dopamine without having to do much at all. You can surf the web, you can binge watch some TV shows, you can order amazing foods for your front door almost instantaneously. And methods like this have become the main sources of dopamine for the majority of people. Now, what's different about these sources of dopamine as compared to the ones we used to get it from? Well, these are forms of consumption, and the ones we used to use are forms of creation. And this is a very important distinction. In order for something to be your passion, it must stem from creation. If you get the majority of your dopamine from a form of consumption, do you know what we call that? We call that an addiction. You're addicted to watching TV, you're addicted to smoking cigarettes, you're addicted to eating junk food. But on the other hand, if we get the majority of our dopamine from a form of creation, that's called a passion. You're passionate about drawing, you're passionate about dancing, you're passionate about farming. So the first and most important thing you have to do in order to find your passion is to turn back your consumption valve. Watch less TV, play less video games, eat less junk food. When you turn back your consumption valve, you force yourself to start looking for dopamine from forms of creation. This is crucial for our next step. The second thing you have to do in order to find your passion is to simply expose yourself to a variety of different forms of creation, to give yourself a chance to get dopamine from these sources instead of forms of consumption. Now, there's no fancy trick to finding these things, you just gotta approach it the old-fashioned way, by trying things out. So what I suggest you to do after successfully completing step number 1 is to search up a list of hobbies. Literally, go on Google and type in list of hobbies Wikipedia. Look through the list, and if you see anything that seems even remotely interesting or fun, write it down. Create a list. Then all you have to do is take this list and ask yourself, which thing would I like to try out first? You should only try out one of these hobbies at a time. You must give yourself enough time to see whether or not you can make this hobby into a passion. If you've successfully followed our first step, which is to drastically tone down the amount of dopamine you get from forms of consumption, what happens next should be automatic. Let's say you picked photography as something you might be interested in. If you followed our first step correctly, you'll naturally do some research on photography. You'll look up some videos, you'll start playing around with a cheap camera or your phone, and after a while, you'll know whether or not you actually like this hobby. All of this is fueled by the dopamine that you are no longer getting from forms of consumption, because you're now getting it from a form of creation. And let's say you don't find yourself interested in photography, all you have to do is move on to the second thing on your list. And if that doesn't work out either, try the third thing, and so on and so on. And if you continue to find yourself not interested in anything, then chances are you're not following the first step properly. You have to turn down the amount of dopamine you get from forms of consumption even more. Now, I know this sounds overly simplistic, but finding a passion isn't as hard as people make it seem. Honestly, all you have to do is tone down the amount of dopamine you're getting from sources of consumption and allow yourself to explore different forms of creation. Speaking of which, a great place for you to dip your feet into the water for a variety of different hobbies is Skillshare.com. Skillshare has over 17,000 unique videos teaching you about hundreds of different topics, including things like photography, drawing, productivity, business, and much more. Personally, I've been interested in learning more about videography and film. My goal is to eventually create better videos for you guys in the future, and these video editing classes are teaching me what I need in order to reach that goal. For those of you that are looking for your passion, I highly recommend checking out Skillshare by using the link in the description box below. The first
Okay, so I'm encouraging you to find your passion, okay, especially the passion with your research, okay, with your research, because you are going to stay with your research for another 3, 4, 5 years. So you have to have, strong passion. You need to have strong passion and find your passion. I mean, the video clip tell you how to find your passion, okay, find your passion. Okay, the last one, apart from, all of the 5, okay, the last one is the ask for help when you need it. So I already mentioned, even though you are a professor, even though you are assistant professor, I myself, assistant professor, I admit that I do not know everything on earth. For instance, like quantitative research, I know a little bit, but if I would like to use like advanced quantitative analysis, I need to rely on someone. I need to find information. So do not pretend that you know everything, because if you know everything, you will finally know nothing. So you need to find help and know exactly who is the greatest sort of help, who is the most appropriate source of help. So if, for instance, I know that I would like to ask someone to help me with the quantitative analysis, I'm going to see my friend who is a lecturer from another department. He works on the logistics. So he's good at mathematics, and I ask the right person. So when you need help, you need to know who will give you the best help. The best help. These are pieces of advice from successful research students at one university. Then I'd like to move on to this. Okay, just 1 second. So I move on to the keywords. Okay, the keywords. So if you remember the 5, suggesting term, there are 3 keywords. The first one is self-motivation, passion, discipline. And I see connection with these 3 words. With these 3 words, self-motivation, passion, discipline. Can you explain the pie graph? How are they related? Can you explain it to me? Self-motivation, passion, discipline. How are they related?
Says, sir,
Yes,
it's
please.
like start from the very small one, like self-motivation, and the bigger than that in the passion, and finally it's going to be our discipline, the biggest one.
Good, very good. So you need to find out what motivates you. We talk about intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation. Remember the case when I talk about Kun Ngam Pan. She wrote several books, and then most of them turned out to be very successful. Her motivation is to write something for someone to read. Her future reader, she doesn't even know them. And then she keep writing, right? Motivate herself. That is her motivation. She would like someone to read her words. And then once she was immersed in the writing process, she developed it to be her passion, right? Her passion. And then she has discipline, right? She writes it every day. She proofreads, she read books, she read articles, and then she becomes great author. So self-motivation is the beginning, and then develop to be passion. And then once you have discipline and you have passion, you will develop discipline. And discipline is also another key apart from consistent. You need to have like discipline, right? Discipline. Discipline is the ability when people do not have to tell you what to do, but you do it by yourself without being told, right? That's called discipline, right? Discipline. Good. Thank you very much. Okay. A few more slides. I really like this quote, and I think that it is very, touching, by E.M. Foster. She said that one person with passion is better than 40 people merely interested, right? Merely interested. So the interest is good, but it's the beginning, right? If you're interested in something, you have to be exposed to it, spend more time living with it, and see yourself whether you have passion with that. Once you have passion, it's more likely for you to get to the end, to be successful. So one person with passion is far better than 40 people merely interested. Again, we talk about the two compatible quality, which is quality and quantity, right? Quality and quantity. The 40 people interested, quantity. One person with passion, quality. So we talk about quality, right? Quality. A few more slides, only 3 more slides. I also took these pieces of advices from another university. And I like the way they collected these, suggestions. They collected from, successful students, and then they wrote it and posted it on the official website. Number 1, to commit adequate time and effort to the project. Ask yourself, I know that you have a lot of burdens. You might have, family to look after. You might have, kids to look after. You might have the second job, the third job, whatever. But apart from that, do you think that you are able to commit yourself time and effort to do your project? If you can, it's good. If you cannot, adjust it or leave it. Okay, adjust it or leave it. Number 2, to be well organized and capable of setting and meeting deadlines for various phases of the research. So I'd like to encourage you again to get back to the simpler activity. Try to set up your goals, like daily goals, objective, because this will eventually help you to become a more proficient person to meet the deadlines. Number 3, to maintain frequent and regular contact with supervisor. How many times do you think in a life of PhD students should see advisor? For the entire course, maybe like 4 or 5 years. So do you think how many times should we see and talk to our advisor?
As much as possible. So
good, as much as possible, as many as possible. Why? Because we will have problem at every stage of your research conduction. You have to encounter so many problems, right? So try to see them as much as possible, as many as possible, because one time you see them, it means that at least one problem will get fixed, right? At least one problem will get fixed. Even though you didn't have problem, just tell them your progress. Just tell your advisor about your progress. What did you do? What have you done? What have you, conducted? And the progress report, report the progress, and try to contact them as often as possible. What I could see, a lot of students who fail to study did not have engagement with the advisor. They do not see the advisor very often. And then what happened after you did not see your advisor for a long time? You would like to see them because you have nothing to show them. And then the distance that, very long distance that kept you apart from your advisor, it's quite difficult to reconnect, right? To reconnect. So I would like to encourage you to see your supervisor as much as possible, as often as possible, right? Okay. Next, okay. Start writing your thesis as early as possible, as early as practicable. So before writing the dissertation, I'd like to encourage you to read that book. Write your dissertation 15 minutes a day. Try to search and find a book and then read it. You will get the idea of consistent, benefits of being consistency, okay? Try to present seminars where appropriate and participate in academic, professional, social life of the department. To attend, present papers, try to find real experience. In Thailand, there are a lot of international conferences right? TESOL, TEL, whatever. So try to present your paper, try to explore the real world, okay, the real world. And this will give you a level or increase certain level of confidence, okay, of confidence. I would like to show you this one. Okay, let me show you this one. These are a list of applied linguistic conference in 2022, next year, 23, and the year after next, 2024. You can have a look at these conferences in Thailand, overseas. If you're able to submit your abstract, part of your work, part of your research project, try to submit it. Try to submit your research project to these conferences. If it is accepted, I mean the abstract or the project is accepted, talk to your advisor whether we should go there and present the paper, because this will give you some sort of confidence when you come back. Not only confidence, but you will get to know more about your research by receiving feedback from people who are interested in something similar in the same field. So try to look around. I'm going to post this one in the meeting chat. Why don't I do it now? I do it now. Okay, in the chat box, okay, I post this one in the chat box already. So you can have an access to this one and try to search, for possibility, if you would like to attend any conference, okay, in the future. Apart from the conference, I would also like to encourage you to look at, different journal in your field. So let me talk about Applied Linguistic Journal, right? The top one. I would like to encourage you to be familiarized yourself with these patterns, like, the article, the volume, and, the previous research in the most recent volumes. Try to look at them, like the trends, like for instance, like the title, and click and have a look at it, right? Look at the abstract, read the abstract as many as possible, as much as possible, as often as possible, and try to see what is happening in your field so that you will have the most recent knowledge. By the end of the day, you might be able to get some publication in this journal, but if not, you get a lot of useful techniques, right? So you have to give yourself some time exploring, right? Exploring these, available free resources so that you will know what is the world trends, what is the trends of the world in language teaching. Then you come back and develop yourself, develop your project. Okay, so I'm going to give these ones too in the link. So I posted it now. Okay. I have another 5 minutes, but I'm not going to spend 5 minutes. I would like to finish my talk, my sharing today with all of you with this quote by Paul Mayer. He said that productivity is never an accident. It's always the result of a commitment to excellent, intelligent planning and focused effort. So if you would like to achieve something big, you need to have at least 3 qualities. The first one, commitment to excellence. Number 2, intelligent planning. And the last one, focused effort. And that is the references for the work that I presented. And if you have any questions, I would like to answer, and I would be very happy to answer all of your questions. So thank you very much for your participation.
Okay. Does anyone have a question? I want to share something with the professor. Okay, now we at the end of the session. So, thank you so much, Assistant Professor Dr. Pattrawut for our wonderful presentation. Well, Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our LET webinar. Before we end this session today, may I again have an honor Associate Professor Dr. Akharapol Neermaihom, the PhD program chair, to give the closing remark. Please.
Thank you. Ajahn Tataraya, you are very punctual. I think I'm not really sure your mind is here or somewhere else. I don't know. Because now actually it's a long holiday, right? So from a few days until tomorrow. So thank you so much, everyone, for your energetic participation in this afternoon webinar. Everyone here in our session, if you would like to see Assistant Professor Dr. Pattrawut in person at our Buriram Rajabhat University, could you please me a thumb up? Okay, that is commitment. All right. So next, I'll have to consult him. Okay, when he is available for us. Whatever presented by our invited speaker today, I would say that it's neither optimistic nor pessimistic, but it is realistic, we can say. All right. Whatever presented to all of you, I think all these things, including deadline, what's that? So workload, stress, and so on. All the things you get familiar with, and some of you used to face. But also, our invited speakers want to present to you the solutions, that is time management, including the patients and other things. So I would say that whatever presented by him today is very productive, and it is applicable to your current study. Now, I think you not are going to die, but you are going to survive for your PhD within not more than 5 years, I guess, and you can grasp your success and achievement. So I really appreciate his talk today. And while driving my car, I stay focused on what was spoken by our guest speaker today. Now I stopped my car at the gas station and send a message to Ajahn Tak that please allow me to deliver a thankful message to our guest speaker. And then after this, I was driving and heading to my son, staying at a hostel now. And so once again, thank you so much, my students and other academic partners, for your energetic participation in this session. And last but not least, I would like to invite all of you, please join me in giving a big round of applause to our wonderful and very active guest speaker today. Thank you very so much. And I hope to see you at our BRU campus very soon. Professor Pattrawut, please stay healthy and keep in touch. Okay, now it's good time to declare the webinar officially closed. See you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye. ขอบคุณและสวัสดีครับ
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you everyone. Hope to see you around and stay safe and try to study and then work hard. Okay, I'd like to see your work publication. Okay. Thank you very much ครับอาจารย์
Thank you
ขอบคุณมากครับ
Thank you ค่ะ
ขอบคุณมากครับ ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you, sir.
See you. Bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye.